So you stand by the fact that you say it's under capture?
Under capture, because I was here when we were fighting for political pluralism and the boldness that was with the media. And remember, there were only 2 media houses then. There was The Nation and The Standard. And in the course of our agitation, The Standard got, KTN. And the slogan was, KTN will change your lives. And it really did, because when KBC was having the leading article as His Excellency President Daniel Arap Moi, KTN would have what else is happening. So it really changed our lives in the sense that it brought pluralism in the media, if you like.
Okay. And so would you put this as are you saying that the media is to blame, or is it that the government has them to a point where we are not able
We are all to blame.
We are all to blame.
Because I'm looking at professionals and professional societies. They are doing less than they did at that time. At that time, it was the Law Society of Kenya and the Association of Professional Societies, which brings together professional bodies. I actually would want to challenge professionals in Kenya. What is our role in helping this great nation embrace good governance, transparency, and accountability? What can we do to help our counties, because now Kenya has 47 counties, our counties get good leadership? Shall we just sit and say how there is wastage of funds at the county and national level while we are sitting and letting incapable people take up leadership?
Okay. Let's come to your analysis of the government's performance on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
What would you give them?
I would give them between 3 and 4. And that's
so
being
they performed dismally.
Yeah, that's being very generous. Because if you look at the way things have unfolded, security has been terrible. Right now, internally, security has improved from where we were. But look at externally, look at what has happened to our soldiers in El Ade. That still has a bearing on our internal security. You see? So security, terrible. Issues surrounding governance, corruption, terrible. Issues of, fighting against ethnicity through the appointments that the Jubilee administration has made, which have been heavily tilted towards their cronies in the Kalenjin nation and in the Kikuyu community. It's like saying, when you belong to the certain community, you'll be favored. Although it's not the whole community. I said cronies within those 2 communities. Because the average person doesn't get affected by that. But the perception creates a chance for tribalism to thrive. Okay. So I think they did, initially they looked like they were doing well on issues of the constitution. But the way they have handled devolution, I personally think that they could have done better giving technical support to the governors and to the counties, and also be more accommodating, because the constitution says consult and cooperate. They have not shown cooperation. There are always wrangles. You remember the medical equipment was almost forced down to governors. Right. And right now, the government has a kitty where they are carrying out development projects in the counties without really involving the governors. They've even managed to change CDF to become a national government fund. Why would government want to be replicating small things which could be done by the county? And I am aware of the challenges of accountability, but those challenges are there in the national government as well as in the county government. So I could go on and on.
Okay.
I think they've done dismally.
Okay. Now, by virtue of the fact that you're in the opposition on the other side, obviously you'd have many issues to pick with the government. But is there anything they've done that you could look at and say, yes, this they've done well?
Yeah, we have to be honest and give credit where it's due. The fact that they were able to roll out the, shall we say, the new session by, the counties starting to work and all that. Amid these challenges, though, we've got to give it to them that devolution now is a fact. You see? We may have issues like I have said, what they have not done well about devolution,
in terms of
but
devolution.
at least it has been successfully rolled out.
Okay.
You see? So there are things like that you could cite, and I must also say that on issues of obeying the Constitution, initially they looked like they were keen to obey. But there's been so many deliberate violations of the Constitution, like failing to appoint a cabinet that, when he appointed the second one, that takes into account the two-thirds gender rule. You know, and attempting to amend the Constitution through an act of Parliament, the Police Act, that they do not, the first 3 slots, the gender consideration should not be there. That amendment is unconstitutional, and many, many other things you've seen in many areas where even the court has reversed the government on issues of the Constitution. We should not have a government that is implementing a new dispensation having so many what looks like deliberate attempts of not obeying the Constitution. The latest was the Tunoi saga, where State House looked like it was not willing to appoint a tribunal. And even now, having appointed a tribunal, there are still questions about the chairman. Whether, and those are issues that are in court. Yeah.
All right, so now you have a new, or shall I call it, a relationship with the opposition in terms of you being part of the opposition currently. Is that just to maintain political relevance, or do you really believe in the opposition being able to deliver for Kenya?
I am not government, and now Kenya is not government. Anybody who is not in government is in opposition in terms of politics, and there is no middle ground. So we are opposition by law and by definition, unless if we have aligned. And we must get away from the narrative in Kenya that everybody has to be in government.
Which is true, but by virtue of the fact that you attend meetings and you're with the Right Honorable Raila Omolo Odinga means you probably subscribe to the ideologies and maybe the manifesto of CORD.
Not necessarily and not wholly, but we have a common agenda to put the government on its toes. That's a mandate the opposition is given in the Constitution.
So are you willing to be under the leadership of Raila Odinga?
What do you mean?
By virtue of the fact that you're in the opposition and he's the opposition leader.
I am in opposition. I lead NARC Kenya. He leads CORD, and he also leads ODM. So to that extent, we are on the same page. And yes, we are working together as opposition, and there are possibilities of working together beyond opposition politics.
So,
but NARC Kenya is a distinct party, and will remain that way.
Will remain that way. It's not going to be merged into the other parties.
No, Jubilee must stop telling other parties that do what we are doing. They are not the standard. I would tell them watch the opposition to see how parties are run.
Not necessarily doing what they're doing, but by virtue of the fact that when you go for a CORD rally, for example, you stand with the CORD principles and echo what they have to say, then we would assume that you're in agreement.
I stand as NARC Kenya, and we may not agree 100% on everything, but we largely do agree.
So do you think it is time that, for instance, Raila Odinga maybe hang his boots?
No. Like, if you ask me, I think it's time Uhuru and Ruto hanged their boots. It's not about age. It's about competency.
All right. You've just said that it's not time for Raila Odinga to hang his boots. But I'd like us to just play a clip, and possibly then we can take it from there. And if we can just roll that clip, Director.
Any report without checking with the person. I do not share any values with the Prime Minister Raila Odinga, nor do I admire his politics. In fact, I've been calling upon him to go home together with President Kibaki. Both of them, both he and President Kibaki, have been totally unable to uproot corruption from within their ranks. And therefore, both the voters of Kenya ought to be good enough to send both home, one by law and ballot.
So what has changed? There you are saying that it's time for him to hang his boots. Him and Kibaki have been unable to uproot corruption. So what has changed?
Remember, we were both candidates in an election. You are not going to sing praises of your rival, okay? But do also remember that I have worked with Raila before. We were in the trenches together seeking the second liberation. We were together in government when we campaigned for, not in government, when we campaigned for the Kanu to go home in 2002. We were together in government, in the Kibaki government. Then the split came. And then we were again together by virtue of the coalition government. So these are people I have worked with. In a contest, you're not going to sing praises of your rival. He has his strong points. We may not agree 100%. Nobody, not me, not anyone, has 100%. But I can assure you, as of now, we have common ground.
But there you say that you do not, first of all, like his political stance, or you do not share values with him. And another major thing in that statement is the issue of corruption, which we know as a country we are at the height of it. So what makes you think right now, or what has changed to be with him in one camp and think that corruption is going to be gotten rid of?
Remember that time, Raila and Kibaki were sharing power. And just like today that I'll blame Uhuru Ruto government for not fighting corruption, the people who are in charge, the government of the day, has all the machinery to fight corruption. They are in charge of all the agencies. So the failure of fighting corruption, just like I spoke then, was with the coalition government. Today, it is with the Jubilee administration. They are in charge. So that is the difference of that statement that then. Today, Raila is not in charge of the agencies that are fighting corruption. It is the Uhuru Ruto failure. It is the Jubilee administration failure. The day he'll be in charge again, and if he fails, I will exactly be telling him the same.
The same words.
Because that's how come I left the Kibaki government. You see? Those are the differences. Part of my beef was the way they were handling corruption issues, human rights, and the administration of justice. Now I was blaming it squarely on the leadership.
On the leadership.
Yes.
Now you're normally very vocal and you vote with your feet, as it were, when you do not agree with a certain individual or a certain party. And by that I mean you will walk out on Moi, you will walk out on Kibaki's government. I believe you resigned as Minister of Justice because you did not agree. So why would you be in agreement with the opposition right now if there are certain things you don't agree with? Why not stand as NARC Kenya and criticize both sides? Look at the government and say they have gone wrong here. Look at the opposition as it stands and say I will not agree or go with this. Because are you telling me there are no issues in the opposition?
There are issues in every party. But I will repeat, that narrative of the government when we raise issues saying also you say corruption, they say also you, and you are the one with the machinery. This is not a nursery school thing where you tell each other also you. We are challenging government because they are in charge. You asked to be in charge so that you could deal with these issues. We must remind you every morning that you are failing, you are not dealing with the issues. The opposition cannot investigate corruption, whether even within its it can act, a party can act and discipline people. And NARC Kenya has done that severally. But beyond that, a party cannot investigate and prosecute. Even when they allege that we have been mentioned in corruption issues, my challenge, and especially on Twitter to the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions and to the police, is get down, investigate each and every corruption allegation and prosecute. You cannot sit idle and then use allegations to try and bring out the narrative that every Kenyan is corrupt. That is not true. There are very, very many people who are not corrupt. And I want to say I'm not corrupt. And if you want to say I'm corrupt, investigate that incident and prosecute me if there is a whiff of evidence.
Okay. My main point of question here is the fact that you say that you're not in agreement with them in one way, but again, from the perspective, and they say perception, rather, perception is reality. From